Most of Canada will spring forward this weekend, and if you're not looking forward to losing that hour of sleep, wait until you hear what Spanish officials are proposing. Spain is considering pulling out of its current time zone altogether, permanently shifting clocks back 1 hour. Now, the move comes after a report found that Spaniards always feel tired because their clocks are synced up with the rest of Western Europe. Joining me to talk about how this happened and the repercussions is Richard Horner. He's the author of the universal pastime, Sleep and Rest Explained. Richard, thank you for being here today. Explain to me, how did Spain end up in the wrong time zone?
Time zones are set through for two reasons. One is the latitude and the longitude that people are on, but the other one is political. So there's historical reasons to do with the Spanish War, and as a mark of respect for the Germans and a wish for unification with the rest of Europe, Spain chose at that time to be on a time zone with Central Europe, not with the neighbors immediately north of them, which will be Greenwich Mean Time.
So they should have been 1 hour behind.
Based on the light-dark cycle, that's what they would align with, yes.
So we on this show, and pretty much, I guess, every morning show, we're fascinated with people's sleep cycles. When we go to bed, when we wake up. I find that I wake up at 3 in the morning. I find myself pretty productive. But what kind of effects can come from people living in the wrong time zone?
I think I had to get up way earlier than I would do normally. I can't imagine what you guys do on this show every day.
But like, the reason I asked the question is, I just got used to it.
Sure.
And why, as a country, can't people just get used to it?
Well, I think that you got used to it because you're probably tending on the morning person side anyway. But as a population, not everyone is like that.
Yeah.
So you have your morning types, which for young people and students are in the minority. When I take a poll in my university class of who's an evening type, about 95% of the students put their hands up. So for those students, living on that kind of schedule would be appalling. So when the clocks go, spring forward, it's very bad on those kind of individuals. And the reality is productivity, accident rates, heart attacks, they do spike on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday following a time shift. And likewise when we go back in the fall.
But, you know, Spain is a country culturally that has taken its siesta in the afternoon. So their sleep schedules have always seemed a little different. I just assumed that they were getting the recommended amount of sleep anyway. So shouldn't it just be about that, the number of hours you get, not when you get them?
Well, the surveys show that they do sleep about an hour less than their counterparts on the central time zone. And, I mean, the more extreme example is shift work. So you would think that, well, after people have worked a night shift, they should be able to sleep during the day. Well, their body clock is not on that schedule. So people are trying to sleep when their body is more awake, as we would think in the morning. So it's not a question of the amount of sleep, or it's the depth and the quality of sleep. And so we often think of time, well, can't we just work on whatever schedule we're on? Well, we have our astronomical time and the time that the municipality gives us and the time that our employers give us to get to work. But we have another clock, and that's in our brains, and our brains listen to the light, the dark cycle, and if you're out of kilter, essentially the body's confused about what time it is. It's very easy to think that we know what time it is when we have one clock, and as the old saying, someone who has two clocks is never quite sure.
Yeah. So you've got Spain that's trying to rectify this problem, but meanwhile you got a country like China that has been doing it in a particular way, its own way for a while, and I don't think they're going to be changing anytime soon.
Probably not.
So tell us about that.
Yeah, so again, from the issues of unification, China operates, vast country, operates on one central time zone, and this was the view of Chairman Mao to unify the country at that time.
That's got to work for some people and not very well for others.
It always works well for the people who are in the time zone which it's set, which is Beijing time. Right?
That's great.
You can imagine if we lived in Toronto and Vancouver was operating on Toronto time, we would be just fine.
Yeah.
Anyone living in Vancouver would think it's terrible. They're getting up too early and staying up too late.
So what are the implications for those people who are living on either side of Beijing?
Well, in certain circumstances, they have no choice.
Yeah.
But the reality is if you're forced into work and at certain times, because that's when the municipality says you have to do it. But so, for example, if you have Vancouverites who are 3 hours behind us, who are trying to get to work at 9 a.m. our time, they're getting up at dawn. And that's not, no one appreciates that.
Nobody appreciates it, but it ain't changing anytime soon for the people in China.
I would think not.
Thank you so much for being here this morning. We
My
really
pleasure.
appreciate it. All right, that was the author of The Universal Pastime, Sleep and Rest Explained, Richard Horner. And for everyone at home, make sure to remember to spring your clocks forward on Sunday.